Once again by Don Borelli, former special agent for the FBI. Let's pick up on what Pete was just talking about, because the temptation when you see something like this is to say, okay, well, we've got to make security better. We've got to expand the perimeter. But where does it end? At some point, security has to begin and end, and isn't that the conundrum that is faced? That is. I mean, you have this area that's, relatively easy to get into, which is, before you get to TSA and you see crowds of people, so it's a very attractive soft target. But imagine if you took that perimeter out and said, okay, we're going to screen people before they get there. So you might have a long line of cars waiting for people to get in, and now that becomes the target, somebody with a bomb in the trunk. So, the real key here is, yes, you have to have good physical security, you have to have that show of force and that present, but you also have to have the intelligence to dictate those actions to try to stop these things before they get started. And I think what we saw in Brussels wasn't just a lack of enough police officers, it was a lack of a really good, robust intelligence network that that didn't identify the cell and their target before the attack happened.
We call these suicide bombings, meaning the person who carries out the attack has every intention of losing his or her life in the attack. But oftentimes we confuse that with the belts or the vests, the suicide vests that we talk all too often about. When you look at the footage from inside that airport in particular, Don, does that kind of damage seem consistent with the kind of damage that can be created by those kinds of devices?
Just looking at the TV, I would say so. Also, there's been reports from people being treated at the hospital with nails embedded in them. So that's another indicator that these devices were made a certain way to inflict a lot of damage. And these are some of the techniques that individuals learn when they go abroad into Iraq and Syria, how to construct these devices for maximum effect.
And indeed, ISIS tells its followers, whatever you can do. I mean, it's in contrast to the al-Qaeda we remember from 15 years ago that had these big ambition of huge, spectacular attacks. And ISIS's playbook seems to be so different, saying wherever you can inflict damage, do it.
That's kind of the paradigm shift here, if you will, is that you don't need to travel abroad and get months of training and come back and have this major sophisticated attack like we saw on 9/11. You can have a very large impact with things that are available. Look at San Bernardino, for example. There's assault weapons available pretty much everywhere.
Right. And here you've got a handful of people, it seems, who are able to bring the capital of Europe to a standstill.
Right. And Europe, I mean, the situation is definitely different over there. They have many, many more, hundreds, if not thousands of these young men and women in some cases that have gone over and received the training. There's obviously a support network in place where they can get the weapons, they can get the explosives. And so the situation is definitely much more dangerous over there.
Don Borelli. Don, thank you very much.